Welcome to another episode of Behind the Now. Today I get to chat with award-winning actor, writer, and producer Jennifer Levinson. After receiving her BA in theater at Chapman University, Jen graduated from Second City Conservatory. She has since gained an international fan base via her digital content, which she's written, produced, and starred in. Jen also shined on and off screen as a 2020 Tribeca Film Festival Creators Market participant. Most recently, Jen wrote, produced, and starred in the feature film Trust, which is currently in post-production. Listen in to learn more about Jen's inspiring journey, including the importance and fulfillment of being persistently true to yourself and creating your own stories. Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So, Jen, you are an actress. You also make your own content. You recently filmed a feature film that you wrote and produced called Trust, which is amazing. So, I'm going to start. Just walk me through your pathway of getting into acting at all. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, sure. So growing up, I was kind of like a tomboy, I think. And I remember my parents sort of directed me to go do a theater camp down the street when I was like 6 or something. And I ended up liking it. Like I remember waving to my friends in the audience, like did everything you're not supposed to do and fell in love with it. And I think that might be not anymore, but for a while that might have been one of their biggest regrets. Like, she caught the acting bug. And then ever since then, I can't think of anything else that I'd rather do. So that's sort of how it started. And then I ended up sort of pursuing it up until now in various different ways. But I studied theater in college and went to Chapman. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Where did you grow up? Where are you from?
I'm from LA. So that's another thing where like some people go through mad hoops to get here and pursue the dream. Whereas like I'm from here. If I quit, I go down the street. So I'm like, I can't quit now.
Yeah, I get it. Totally. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. So at what point did you start creating your own content? Like, did you do that from the beginning or like were you auditioning a lot and then you talk.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was in high school, I was like about to turn 18. I was like, hey, parents, help me pursue this professionally or I'm going to disown you when I turn 18. And they were like, okay, we'll help you. So I got an agent. And I think I was so green at the time that I would just like hear about auditions and show up. And the first 3 auditions I showed up at were like huge national commercials. And I booked the 3rd one and it was a Super Bowl spot.
Wow.
They're like, oh, okay, maybe she has something going for her.
That's so cool.
Thanks. And then I got into Chapman for theater and studied it in more of like a school setting. And I think then I realized how difficult the industry was and had an awakening. Like nowadays, I would never show up to an audition that I didn't get through a rep. I feel like I don't have the confidence to pull that off. But at the time, I was like, whatever, I have nothing to lose. I might as well just show up. I do not recommend that, but it worked out at the time. And then like throughout college, we had a screen acting program at Chapman, but in order to get into it, you have to first audition for theater. And I don't know if things have changed now, but you audition for the theater program. And at the end of freshman year, you re-audition for screen acting or theater performance, or you stay in the theater program. Yeah, and I didn't get into screen acting. And that was just like a huge blow at the time. And I remember I was auditioning for like a small equity play in LA. And I told my mom, if I don't book this, I'm done. I quit acting. And then somehow ended up booking it and then continued on. And then towards the end of college, I think I was really frustrated because I'd had agents, but never got sent out. Like very few auditions. And I sort of realized like, I can't just sit around waiting. I feel like there's this notion that like you move to LA, you get an audition, or you get an agent, then audition all the time. But for me, it was like, get the agent, sit around and wait for something. And I was like, I can't just sit here waiting or nothing's ever going to happen. So I started making my own stuff. And a lot of it was bad at first, but you got to start somewhere. So that's sort of how I got into
Yeah, I love that.
it.
That's amazing. So, what is your background in writing? So, like, okay, for someone who hasn't, say someone's exactly where you were, they're an actor, they've been auditioning, but they haven't written before and they haven't produced or anything, where should they start?
I think, it's hard. For me at the time when I first started, I was dating someone who was in film and we would collaborate a lot.
Mm,
But I think after we broke up, because it was a very unhealthy relationship and it was
mhm.
on BuzzFeed, which I'll go into in a bit. BuzzFeed's like this huge platform, and that's sort of how I got my feet in the door for bigger
Oh, I
opportunities for a lot of things.
see. Okay.
Um, but I remember the breakup happening and thinking like, I'm screwed career wise. I don't know how to make my own stuff. And it forced me to realize how to do it on my own. And what I realized is like we all have the equipment, even if you just have a cell phone.
Yeah.
There, I feel like people are just so hungry to make stuff, and you got to find people. Like I started a writing group, and that was really helpful. Of just like getting together for an hour, we'd each work on our own thing. It's
Mm.
like accountability for me. It's really helpful. So I think in terms of writing, like I read this book called Save the Cat, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a pretty good starter
Uh-huh.
book. But I think the main thing was just to do it and realize that a lot of what I was writing at the beginning was going to be bad. Or
Mhm.
realize too that like a lot of people would tell me certain ideas were bad. And then later on, I recognized they were great ideas that I was passionate about, and someone else out there might also be passionate about it. So, like,
Right.
you have something you believe in, or you're watching TV and you're like, I could play that role, write something similar, like, kind of write your dream roles. That's how I always approach.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
And then in
I
terms of
love that.
yeah, producing, I just feel like you kind of have to do it yourself. So a lot of it, like I was investing a lot of money in producing higher quality stuff, but some people don't have those resources. So like learn camera angles, use your phone, get your friends
Mm.
involved. I feel like I said, people want to work, so they're willing to
Yeah.
do stuff.
Okay. And you kind of organically, like how did you go about choosing your crew? And so maybe go lead into like first the development of trust and then maybe how you developed your crew for that. Was
Yeah,
trust your first feature that you've developed?
it was.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I've been in
amazing.
a
That's huge.
feature before. Thanks. But the feature I was in was really bad. It was
Okay.
one of those like Sharknado. It's by the same company.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I could start with like I was making stuff with my ex, and he got a job at BuzzFeed that I helped him get, and
Mm.
so I would come up with short form script ideas, and then he would make them at BuzzFeed and put me in them. But we kind of got branded online as this dynamic duo, and
Mm.
so a lot of me trying to make my own stuff was like, how do I remove myself from this brand that I thought was a good idea, but has
Mhm.
kind of hurt my career a little bit because as actors, like we want to be taken seriously. And here I am being branded with my ex-boyfriend in videos like girls poop for the first time, which are dumb parodies. So I guess another piece of advice to people would be like, don't just make stuff because it's going to go viral, make stuff because it could benefit your long-term goals. So for me, like after that relationship ended and BuzzFeed was kind of done for me, I was like, how do I establish myself as like a serious actor after this whole BuzzFeed persona for the last 4 years? So trust was like one of the main things that I've always had in the back of my head, based on my own family. I feel like maybe it's relatable to some extent that I see so many movies that nail in this notion that you have to reconcile with your family. You only have one family, and
Mm.
my extended family uh, has their toxic characters. And I think one of the healthiest things that I have done in my personal life has been to walk away from certain relationships or whether they're family or not. And I wanted to like capture that in a script. So I wrote this little proof of concept, and that I then reached out to some people I had met through college and on different sets. And I knew going into it that I wanted to invest a few $1,000s into it to make it look good and decent. Asked a lot of favors too. And that was a 2-day shoot. but that sort of opened the door for bigger opportunities. That was like the third project I'd produced independently of the BuzzFeed relationship. And
amazing.
yeah, and that kind of opened the door. Like Tribeca Film Festival reached out to me to include me in this exclusive invite-only market. And I think it's because of taking the initiative to make my own stuff that opened that door. So that was the beginning.
That's so admirable. When you say, just to clarify for anyone listening, go over what a proof of concept is.
Sure. Yeah. So a proof of concept is like a slice of life from a larger product. So let's say you have like a series you want to make or a feature. Those things require significantly more resources, and I didn't have those available to me. So I knew that I wanted this to be a feature, but I figured I would show something that is high quality, produced well, that I could then maybe take to investors and say like, hey, I have a screenplay and I have like a slice of life that's like 7 minutes long that shows you the world of the three main characters in this story. And hopefully this package would resonate with people who would then invest in a feature version of the script.
Right. Okay. So it's like to pitch your feature.
Yeah, and I think
it's filmed, right?
It's filmed, and it's also beneficial even if you don't have a feature. I think to create a short. Some people might disagree with me, but I think getting into certain festivals and networking with the people there is really valuable in expanding who you're working with. So for me, it was essential in getting the feature made.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Very cool. And then what is your writing process like in terms of outlining? Like, do you outline and then write? And yeah, like, and also how do you decide when to pursue an idea? When are you like, you brought this up a little bit, but when is it like, this is something I should write and invest all this time in versus like, maybe it's not what I thought, you know?
Yeah, I think you have to really believe in the concept and the idea. Like, for instance, one of the other projects I pitched through Tribeca Film Festival was this series called Never Everland that so many people told me was completely stupid. I needed to scrap it. And I thought it was a great idea at the time and then kind of put it aside. And then when Tribeca came up, I was like, they're letting me pitch as many projects as I want. I haven't touched this thing in years, but I might as well throw it into the mix. And then of all the things I brought to Tribeca, like I pitched to Disney Television, WB, Freeform, all these big networks. And the thing they were most interested in was that series. And it just showed me like, you never know who's going to resonate with something. So I think it's about having the passion for it and kind of like letting criticism bounce off of you. And like, if you feel a fire to write something, you just have to roll with it. So like for Trust, I didn't even open the door really for people to tell me it was a bad idea because I was so passionate about the idea. And I think my writing process varies script to script. Like this kind of was like a cluster of spewing ideas into a really bad first draft. And then the director of the feature was a different person than the proof of concept. And that also started as a joke at a bar when my friend Almog, who directed the feature, I mentioned to him I wanted to make this into a feature. And he jokingly was like, hey, I'd like to throw my hat in the ring. And I like clocked that. And he's someone that I've admired since college and always thought, oh, he'd never want to work with me on anything. He's like far beyond me. So when he brought that up, I was like, okay, I'm going to hit him up. So I think like for smaller projects, I reached out to people that seemed like attainable people. I always paid everyone not well at the beginning, but like, worked out things to make everyone feel valued. And then once I like felt I had proven myself as a true filmmaker, I then felt more confident reaching out to someone like Almog. And he really came in and helped me develop this feature script. On other things now, I definitely outline and try and like go off of a beat sheet or work with other people. But for Trust, it's largely based on a lot of real people in my life and real events that it just kind of like flowed out into a mess. And then Almog came in and helped me structure it better.
Oh, I see. Do you feel like you're naturally more inclined with character development more so than structure?
I think so. I feel like, I mean, you act, right? So like,
Yeah, yeah. But I feel like that as well, though, because when
yeah,
I was writing, my structure was like, oh my God, I don't know what
yeah.
I'm doing.
Oh, same. I'm like, what is happening? I don't know where this is going. That's how I felt a little with Trust, but I was like, I have a grasp on like who these characters are. But I do think one benefit of being an actor slash writer is that like we know how people talk. So there's
Mm,
sometimes when I'm sure you have had this experience too, where I get scripts and I'm like, no one talks like this. This is so
yes, for sure.
badly written. I don't understand how this got made. And I feel like it makes it easier to write real characters. But
Mhm.
yeah, structure is definitely something I need to work on.
Yeah, I'd so yeah. I also though like talking to writers at every level, it seems like naturally people have either a strength in character or like the plot or like structure. So yeah,
Totally.
I don't know. I was just curious.
Yeah. Also, for me, it's been helpful to like reach out to friends that are more writer oriented and
Mm,
work with them on stuff. I feel like I collaborate. I love collaborating. I also like writing independently, but I think having partners to write with has been awesome.
mhm. Okay, okay, so once you have a draft of a full script, first of all, how do you decide when your draft is done?
Good question. For Trust, it was like the day before we shot. I feel like it was constantly tweaking and
Mm,
tweaking and tweaking, and things got shifted in big ways a lot up until production. Obviously, like certain scenes had to be locked because we had locations locked, but little dialogue here and there was shifted. So I don't know if you're ever done with it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of get to a point where you're like, I have to relinquish this thing to get feedback. And like, I like to get it to like, I don't know, a third draft. I feel like first draft sucks. Second draft is a little less crap. And then the third one is meh. And then I send it off, get the feedback from all the people, and then like kind of take everything with a grain of salt and decide
Yeah.
what I want to apply.
Yeah, because you talked about both ends of that, like getting feedback, but at the same time, not necessarily taking everything to heart. And like you still have to know what you want, like what you think
Yeah,
instinctively.
totally. Yeah. Like
So
for Trust,
interesting.
people were like, you need a romance or you need to like the takeaway should be unite the family. And I was like, those are two things that I
Mm,
refuse to change. Like you can't be precious with your material to a point where you're not willing to work with people.
right, right.
I've noticed I've worked with a lot of people who refuse to be collaborative, and I think that's a major issue. But so I think you got to be open minded, but also like hold firm to the few things you won't change because
Mhm.
it's your
Yeah, like I love that you said that, like the ending. Yeah, because if it's not truthful, then don't just do it, you know?
yeah. So there were a
Yeah,
few
I
things that I
get
was like
that.
open to changing anything, but these two things, and I feel like every movie I see has like a love story with a girl in the lead.
Right.
I didn't want this to have any love story because I'm so sick of that. I wanted to see like an
Yeah.
empowered female not falling in love.
Right. Good, good. I totally agree.
Yeah.
What was did you guys have a rehearsal process with the actors?
Yeah, so the same actors from my proof of concept were
Right.
in my feature, and
Okay.
they're all producers in various capacities on the feature. So they were really awesome to work with. We like had a couple read throughs, and then my parents are precious angels who we shot the proof of concept there, and then the budget for this got wild because of COVID and Film LA,
Mm,
and like producing a feature is crazy. So um, we were looking at different house locations to rent because after
mhm.
doing the proof of concept for 2 days, my parents were like, "You are not shooting a feature here." And in my mind, as I'm writing this script, I wrote it with that house in mind that I grew up
Mm,
in, and also financially, it's a lot easier to shoot in a location that you already have that is basically it has a lot of the production design in it. So
mm.
my director kind of got on the phone with my mom because he was like, is there any way she'll let us shoot there? And I was like, 100% no, try it. You talk to her. So for an hour, they were going back and forth, and he was talking about paying her and all this stuff. And then finally he was like, creatively, this house is perfect. And my mom got quiet and was like, let me talk to Jen's dad. And it was like that, talking about it from a creative perspective got them to literally leave the house on their own and go stay in my grandparents' house in Palm Desert and let us use their house for free. So we were able to have a couple rehearsal days in there, which is really helpful. But for like, so there's like 3 of us in the main cast and then a lot of other cast members that we did like a Zoom table read. And then the first time we actually like did the film was on set. So we would we'd rehearse it and then just went
and like let it all go. Awesome. I love that. That's so how long did the shoot take that your parents were out?
So they were out for like a week and a half. It was an 18-day shoot, but like the main location was the house and then we shot in other locations around LA. It was wild. Yeah.
Wow, that's really lucky. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely so grateful. I mean, we went not way over budget, but a little over budget. And I can't imagine how much worse it would be if we didn't have the free location for as long as we had.
Yeah. How did you go about casting? So I know you said like the main roles, I think you knew them, right? From before.
Yeah. So Heston and I went to Chapman together and Kate and I met on a film shoot. And then for the rest of the cast, I have a friend named Lena who I grew up with, and she was like, hey, I have this random friend, Jacob, who wants to be a producer. Can I introduce you? And in my mind, I was like, oh, what am I going to give him? Yeah, I don't know anything about anything. And then he kind of came to me and was like, hey, I have a background in casting. I'm eager to work. Can I help out on your film? And I was like, yeah, sure. And honestly, he's kind of the reason the film even got made, because I was a lot of talk and like half action, being like, I'm going to make this film sometime. And then Jacob all of a sudden started like casting it without me like actually having it greenlit. And I was like, oh, wow, we're doing this.
Oh,
like, wow. Together. So it kind of kicked my butt to start like getting all the funding and reaching out to anybody who might invest in the film. And that's sort of, Jacob knows this. I'm grateful to him because him coming on board is really what like lit a fire under me to get this made.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And
he used, sorry, go on.
Yeah. So he comes from like a casting background and it was very, again, collaborative. So like we gave him the script. He came up with all these character descriptions. And what I loved about working with him too is he really challenged us on the vision for every character and gave us reasons why. And sometimes we agreed, sometimes we disagreed, but it really gave us a wide range of options in terms of casting. And I think in terms of securing some namey talent, which we don't have any like huge names, but having a proof of concept was really helpful in getting some bigger names on board because they could see that we're capable of doing something more than just
right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Like from a perspective of someone looking at it just like on paper or like writing, I mean, versus they can actually like watch and kind of see the dynamic. There's no way you can pick that up just from a script, because you don't know how it's going to be executed.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's really helpful. Like the guy who plays my dad, Lyndon Ashby, he's in Trinkets on Netflix. He was like the OG Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat. And he's like in Teen Wolf. So we got him on board. I think a lot of it had to do with the proof of concept. And he was just an angel, absolute dream to work with. Like everyone was so awesome to work with.
Oh, and so cool.
Yeah. So that's sort of the casting process. We like created a dream list of like actors that were unattainable that we would love to have in certain roles. And like in reach, and then like who we thought would absolutely say yes. And then Jacob also put out casting notices and reached out directly to certain agencies. So it was a lot of like outreach, and some people laughed at us with the rates we were offering. I think some didn't even open the script, but most people who did were willing to talk with us, which is cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it all lands where it's meant to, like it sounds like it was amazing. So that's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's so exciting. When you have like your ideal cast? Like in those beginning stages, do you reach out to their reps directly or like, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I didn't do the outreach. Jacob did.
Uh-huh.
And at first it was a lot of no's. Some
Mhm.
agents being like, I can't even send this. This is an embarrassing offer. Got some of those.
Oh my God.
Uh, but it's funny because I think legally, and I don't know the logistics, but I
Mhm.
think if you send an offer, they have to show the client. So we were sending some offers that were laughable. But another thing I didn't even realize, because on the proof of concept, we didn't have trailers or anything. It was just like,
Mm.
it was low budget and the feature was considered ultra low budget. But like in negotiating with some of this talent, not only are you negotiating a rate, but you're also negotiating the type of trailer they're going to get, if they're going to get a trailer, if
Oh, I
they're going
see.
to have a room in the honey wagon, if they're, and because of COVID, we had to have a honey wagon with different rooms to separate people in
Mm.
the zone system. But that definitely was not something I knew before producing a feature that, oh, you're negotiating the type of dressing room. And it was funny too, because even after negotiating these things with agents, you realize like, oh, the agents are just trying to get as much as possible for their actors, because like Lyndon showed up on the first day of set and we were like, here, we'll walk you to your trailer. And he laughed because he thought we were joking. And we were like, why? We have a trailer for you. Like, that's what you're
Oh,
negotiated. But he didn't
yeah.
see us. So like, kind of funny to see the disparity between what's asked for and what's
Right.
expected. But everyone showed up and was awesome to work with. But that was all interesting in the casting process of
Yeah, that's
negotiating those things.
it's so interesting hearing you talk because like everyone, there's so many different moving parts and like roles in the industry, and like making your own feature like that, you really interact with all of them at like different levels. And that was probably really funny to you to
Oh
see
yeah,
like everything the agent was saying, and then you're actually with the actor and they're like, oh, I don't care about this.
yeah. It's also funny too because it made me realize, dang, my agents could really work a little harder. I dropped my reps after my film because I was like,
Mm.
they've not negotiated once, and here we have like, even if it's not for financial negotiation, we had agents negotiating for like a different placement in the credits, tickets to the premiere, like
Oh,
even the
wow.
smallest things, just trying to get their clients as much as possible. Because also like they don't know us, we're all new filmmakers. Like
Right.
it's also the director's first feature. Um, but I think now I'm really proud of what's coming out of it and how it's looking, and I hope it
So
leads to
exciting.
other projects for us for sure.
Yeah. So where does it go from here? Like, how do you approach distribution now? It's such
So
a process, huh?
it's
It's
such
amazing
a
though.
process.
So exciting.
Yeah, we got a PR distribution strategist on board, and actually after college, like for 2 years, I worked in distribution as like a
Mm.
social media marketing lead. So I took notes in like every meeting, and I think that really helped in also getting investments to say like, hey, I have a background in distribution. I know how it
Hmm.
works. Like I will guarantee this film gets sold. And I do film. So like in terms of distribution, we were still like editing the film. It's still in post. Like we have a work
Hmm.
in progress. We've submitted to a few festivals. We got denied from Sundance, but saw that one coming. But we've gotten a few distribution offers,
Hmm.
which is really exciting, and we've gotten some festival offers. So basically, it's a lot of outreach to direct contacts and programmers, and I think a lot of it's political and who you know, although
Right.
they say it's not, but trying to get individual screener links to certain people and just getting them to watch it. On Film Freeway, where you submit to festivals, you can't track how many people have viewed it, but if you
Um,
send them a screener link, you can track it. So trying to see like who opened the link, how many views has it had. But I'm also planning on going to European Film Market in Berlin to get on
um,
the ground and pitch it, because I've realized you can hire someone to sell this film, but I don't think anyone is going to sell it and pitch it as much as I will.
right. I
So
was thinking that.
yeah, and my director too. Like I knew ever since I met him and worked with him at Chapman, I knew he was going to be successful, and I'm so honored that his first feature was my first feature working with him. Like
Yeah.
he also just wrapped a project with Jimmy Fallon, so like he's also an editor, and I just am really excited for the potential of where this will go. And I think that like once we were trying to finish like sound, so like the next steps right now, we've done like, color, and we've sent this work in progress to a bunch of people. But it's so hard to be creative, and when these people are getting thousands of films, to expect them to know what it's going to sound like is a huge ask, I think. So I am excited for once we have this film like completely wrapped in a nice little bow, hopefully by the end of January, to like send that out. So we're kind of waiting to commit to distributors and festivals once we have.
Okay, that's pretty. That feels quick to me still, though. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is like I obviously knew Sundance is like a hole in one. Like there's no way, but I think in the back of my mind, I'm trying to make myself feel better by being like, we sent a work in progress. They don't know. They didn't hear it with like the completed sound.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a different experience when you have everything in there. So it's been a very fast turnaround for sure.
That's so cool. And that's true what you're saying. It's not just, I mean, that's true, you know? When you submit to festivals, what are you submitting at this stage? Like,
we're submitting a work in progress, and at the beginning and they say they accept them, but again, you know, they're how creative can these people get? It's like with casting, how creative are you going to get? I always think that way. But we submit a work in progress, and at the beginning, it's a title card with all the things that are in progress. So we'll
I see.
Yeah, I'll say like colors being worked on. We just finished color, and then we'll update the link and be like, okay, sound design and sound mixing is being worked on. Credits are being worked on. So we list all of the things that are in progress and what's currently done. So we're picture locked, but all of those like final touches are being laid in as we speak.
Yeah, okay. I always wondered that, so that makes sense. So you are sending though like the full film, but like a rough cut, like there's okay. Okay, that makes sense. I know you're very immersed in trust, but do you have any idea of what you want to pursue next in terms of story or anything, genre?
Yeah. So, I mean, another thing with trust is like I said, I've been getting very few auditions. I don't know how your audition cycle's been, but mine are like very few and far between. And after Trust dropped my reps, I got a new manager. Like I was disappointed that even during Trust, when I told my reps I was making a feature, they kind of poo-pooed me. I think.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
It's so admirable. That makes me like, you know,
yeah. I think because a lot of people do make content out here that maybe they don't realize how legitimate of a film it is. But one day they'll regret that. So for like this will open doors as like a producer, actor, and writer.
Which is so cool.
Thanks. And so after Trust, I was like, what can I control? I can't really show up at auditions or anything like that. So I like got back into an acting class, and then I started writing as much as possible. So I'm like currently working on a pilot with a friend. I have another feature with a different friend, and then my other baby, I call like Trust is like the first baby, and then the other big script that I'm hoping to get off the ground in the next few years is called How to Hunt a Narcissist. And definitely a different vibe than the last film. So just trying to do as much writing as possible and find things that are in my control. I think as actors, it's so frustrating to be sitting here and it's like, I got the new headshots, I updated the resume and reel, checking on Actors Access, and there's nothing there. And it's like, what? I feel like I just have to sit around, and I hate that feeling. So I'm constantly, what can I do that's in reach? And those have been the main things. It's
and you've done it, and it's so exciting. It's like it's so cool. I
appreciate it.
Are there any stories inside of you that you find yourself like, do you have a favorite type of story to tell? I just thought of that because you said How to Hunt a Narcissist, and I think I don't know, it seems like there's like some theme there with like mental health ish, like
I love mental health stories that talk about mental health or destigmatize mental health. So Trust is one of those stories. It centers around like 3 siblings reconciling over their mom's suicide. I've lost family to suicide, and I've had my own personal struggles with depression. And so for me, I think trying to find ways to integrate that into stories and destigmatize these different things and talk about mental health in a tangible, realistic way is important. Especially after seeing, I think there's a lot of content out there that kind of romanticizes certain aspects of mental health that shouldn't be. So I'm like, what can I do in a story to, I don't know, be real with those types of things? Yeah, I love mental health. Dramas are where I end up finding myself, but I think How to Hunt a Narcissist is maybe like a dark comedy mixed with some weird, I don't even know if I would say sci-fi elements, but some like weird horror elements.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so cool. I'm so inspired by you.
Oh, I appreciate it.
I'm gonna ask you just a few fun questions, like random.
Awesome.
Okay? Okay, cool. So what is your horoscope sign, and does that mean anything to you?
I'm a Sagittarius. I'm really bad when it comes to horoscope stuff. But I'm trying to get better because I have friends that are like deeply ingrained in it. And every time I do read stuff about my horoscope, I'm like, oh wow, it is spot on. So I'm trying to think of like what Sagittarius means.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure either. I just like,
yeah,
I've been recently kind of interested a little in tarot cards.
Oh.
Not that I think it's like true or like anything, but it's like it is interesting. And like yeah, there's a lot of people that do tarot readings and a lot of them just have such wisdom in whatever they say, you know? And it's not necessarily like this is gonna happen this week, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I
cool.
need to explore it more because I'm sure there's meaning behind it.
Yeah, I think there must be something.
Yeah.
Do you have a weird talent that not many people know about?
A weird talent. I don't know if I have any weird talents per se. I think I think I have a special, I would call this a special skill that like rejection pisses me off and makes me want to prove people wrong, which I feel like if you don't have that kind of fierce energy, it's really hard to want to keep going in this industry. So I don't know if that counts as a special skill. Is like,
for sure. I mean,
every time someone's told me, like, even I remember at Chapman when I got rejected from the screen acting program, it's like, I need to now like prove them wrong. And so like, or when my ex used to tell me I could never make a feature, I had to go make a feature. You know what I mean? So
yeah, good for you. I love that. That's the spirit you need.
Yeah, those are my special skills, being obnoxiously persistent.
Excellent. I love that. It's so good. And this podcast is called Behind the Now, but I like to emphasize be the now. So is there anything that you do to be the now? However you interpret that, or like, or like, when are you in the now?
I think being in the now has been one of the hardest things for me to do. And I have such mad respect for people who are able to do it. And it's something I work on in therapy and every day of my life, because I feel like I have anxiety. I'm medicated for it. And like, I know a lot of people are in this industry, and there's this constant pressure to like do stuff because it's going to lead you somewhere in 2 years or 5 years. And like, it's so hard to just like live in the now. But I think even just like being on set and making this film, when COVID happened, it had a lot of negativity to it. But the one thing it did for me was inspire me to be like, I can't just sit here waiting around. I need to like do things now. And who cares when this ends, which we're still in it kind of.
Right.
And it kind of got me in this headspace of like, life's short and I don't know when else I'm going to get opportunities to do things. I need to do them now. And even just like, as I get rejected or accepted into festivals, instead of like thinking about the long-term effect on the film, I'm more so just like trying to take it a day at a time and live in the process, and proud of how much we accomplished and what we're accomplishing every day. And then I think for me, being in the now is like waking up, focusing on like what is in my control today, and not trying to predict where it's going to put me in some foreseeable amount of time.
Yes, I love that. And I've had everything you're talking about, like those thought processes and what can I be in control of? And like, oh my goodness, I probably have papers like notes of this stuff, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. You are amazing. I'm really
Oh,
excited to share this.
thanks for having me.